Well, I hope you got a chance to see me harvest a bunch of peanuts in the last video I did out in the garden. It was a new crop for me. I was very excited to do it, and I was surprised at how many peanuts we got. Right now, these are raw nuts, and I want to make them edible. We're not going to boil them. I'm going to show you how I'm going to roast these nuts. And if you stick around to the end of this video, I'll show you exactly how many pounds I harvested. So let's get started. So when you harvest peanuts out of the ground, you can boil them right away and they're edible. I actually cured these peanuts, which means I put them in a dry, cool area, making sure they had a lot of airflow for about 2 to 3 weeks. The reason why you want to cure them is because you're trying to make them as dry as possible. So there's a lot of moisture in these nuts, and you're trying to get rid of all of that moisture before you do anything with them as far as roasting. So for some of the nuts, I set aside and I'm going to save them for next year's planting, because if you watched the harvest video where I talk about peanuts, it was really hard for me to find raw nuts that I could plant. The rest we are going to roast. Some of them I'm going to roast in the shell, and some of them I'd like to try to do a honey roasted recipe. For me, roasting in the shell, I wanted them to be kind of salty, like to penetrate that shell. So I actually brine them before we're going to roast. Before you brine, you want to make sure that you rinse the peanuts really well to get most of the debris and dirt off. Then to brine the nuts, you would take 2 gallons of warm water. You would dissolve a cup of sea salt or a cup of kosher salt in the hot or the warm water. I had so many nuts that I doubled up this recipe. So I used 2 cups of salt and I used 4 gallons of warm water. So you pour the peanuts in the container that you're going to let them brine in, and then you pour the water that has the dissolved salts in it right on top. Now the peanuts started to float, so I actually used a plate to hold most of them down. I set this in the fridge for about 24 hours. That you probably don't have to wait that long, but it didn't hurt. Once I was done, I took the nuts out of the brine and I let them sit on cookie sheets so they could dry again. So once the nuts got completely dry, and how I knew was I tested a couple and just made sure that I opened them up. Were they dry enough? Were they hard and crunchy? If so, then you're ready to pop them in the oven. I cooked mine, at least the ones that I'm roasting in the shell, at 350 for 20 minutes. Then I let cool. Now for these, they're great. You can just snack on them. I'm actually gonna put some in little bags and give them as gifts over the holidays. But the other method I wanted to show you was how to roast them outside of the shell. And that means taking off the shell, getting a bunch of nuts, roasting them, and I'm gonna honey roast them with our home harvested honey. Right now, all I'm doing is taking the shells off of the nuts, and I need about 3 cups of nuts. So this is gonna take a while. I don't know a faster way to do it. If you do, please comment below. I would love to know. The recipe does say that these need to be de-skinned, but I'm probably not gonna put that much effort into that. And I'm gonna just keep cracking, so stick around. Peanuts are finally deshelled. We have 3 cups. Now to make them honey roasted, you want to use 3 tablespoons of butter, a 1/4 cup of honey, a 1/2 cup of white cane sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt, but you want the teaspoon separated. So I've got 1 here and another teaspoon over here, and a 1/4 cup cayenne pepper. So what we're going to do is we're going to melt the butter over the stove, add the honey, and 1 of the teaspoons of salt. And you're gonna let it boil or simmer for about 30 seconds. Once it's completely incorporated, we're going to put the peanuts in and make sure they're very well coated. Then you're gonna lay the peanuts on a parchment paper on a cookie sheet, and we're gonna stick them in the oven at 325 for 30 minutes, and you wanna stir them every 10 minutes, kind of mix them around, make sure that the coating's sticking, and then it's starting to become brown in color. Once that they have roasted for about 30 minutes, you wanna take them out and let them cool. Then you're going to take your other teaspoon of salt, your 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and your 1/2 cup of sugar, and you're gonna mix them all in a bowl. And once the peanuts are cooled, you're going to toss the peanuts in this mixture. And that is it for roasting peanuts, both in the shell and for roasting peanuts, just making a honey roasted peanut recipe here. So let's find out how many peanuts I harvested. The bowl I use, it didn't register, and this scale starts at 1 pound. So I'm gonna give the bowl a 1/2 pound weight. So as you can see, it's 6 pounds. So I'm saying I harvested about 5.5 pounds of peanuts this year, which I'm really excited about because, again, first time growing peanuts, and I believe it was a really good success. All right, everybody, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.